Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I thought I would talk about the 9 books that I read in July and August. Today I'm filming this on August 31st, so it's the last day of August. There is no way I'm going to be finishing any books today to add to this list. So 3 of the 9 books I read on my Kindle and 1 of the 9 books I listened to via audiobook. So let's get into the books. The first book that I read in July and finished on July 6th was The God of Endings by Jacqueline Holland. This is essentially about a vampire who is living throughout time and how she is grappling and dealing with the grief of losing those she cares about most around her and how she can navigate life with the amount of loss that she's been through. And as you can see, I did tab this one as well. And this honestly may be one of the most gorgeous depictions of grief I've read in fiction in recent memory. I even highlighted stuff, I wrote in it, I went in on this book. It is quite heavy. It is a bit dark and disturbing. However, this book does have something that very few other books have achieved with me, and that is it had a character named Leo in this who is a young boy. I think he's like 6 years old, I can't remember, but I loved him. I wanted to protect him. Now, I am not a fan of children in general. I liked the main character too. I thought she was well fleshed out. Another thing that this book really had going for it is Jacqueline Holland's prose is stunning. It did kind of drag on by the end though. This is a long book. I think it's 500 something pages. It's nearly 500 pages. And by the end, I was just kind of ready for it to be over. Things didn't really conclude in a way that I felt was satisfying. I gave this 4 stars. Book 1 down. The second book I read in the month of July was Haunting Adeline. And we have a special guest here for that. Hi, this is Michelle. So you've seen her on my channel before. She's here to talk about this one with me because we both have read it. And well, let's just say first the average rating for it is 3.96 stars. It has over 500,000 reviews, so obviously it's very popular. And this is about essentially, how would you characterize it? Stalker romance?
Yeah, stalker romance. A lot of stuff happens. We're not really sure why, but essentially it's set up to where the guy slowly haunts the FMC like a ghost, and it's pretty interesting. It pulls you in, but definitely check your trigger warnings because they are there.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. Interesting is yeah, that's a word for this for sure. But you really enjoyed this book, right? Or until the second one.
Well, I liked it. I liked it a lot. It definitely was a lot. It kind of destroyed me.
That's what it looks like. Okay, so I read this on my Kindle, so
yeah.
This is the first time I'm seeing it in person. Here's what I'll say about it. I think it's important to explore the taboo natures of being a human being. I think books like this make that possible, but I think it shouldn't influence young girls. Shouldn't read stuff like this.
I mean, I wouldn't give it to my little sister to read.
And your little sister's 18, right?
My sister's 19.
And you still wouldn't even give this to her to read.
I know. I'm almost please don't read it till you're at least 30. I want to say that almost.
I would say,
because it's a lot. I mean, I feel like nobody's really prepared for what happens. It just kind of happens. Again, it's a lot. A lot of people DNF'd it too. I get why. I know why.
So if you could sum it up in 1 sentence,
it's when you put it down, it's like coming back from battle.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that for sure. There was something about this that it kept drawing me back in, but I just
I definitely put it down multiple times and was no, I can't. I'm done. And then went back and picked it back up because that's me.
Yeah, but the fact that it has 500,000 reviews just on Goodreads means that there's something about it that keeps bringing people back to it, but I read with caution. There was stuff in this scenes I will never forget. I rated it 2 stars. I Yeah, that was all I could give it.
I need to go back and rate it because I just finished like the second book and
Yeah.
I'm still like kind of processing.
Scarred by it.
I'm a little scarred. I'm still like, it's definitely, at least for me, like I'm still like thinking about what happened, like processing all of that. It takes me a minute sometimes to like gather my words.
But the spice in this is something
It's
else.
level 10, not even like
Level 11,
level
basically.
12.
Very nice to see it in person though, so.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Next. The third book I read in July and finished on July 11th was Challenger Deep by Neil Shusterman. I gotta be honest, I did not like this book. I am a total outlier though in that opinion because the average rating for this book is 4.15 stars and I rated it 1 star. Really, it's a me problem. I misread what the book was about, so really it's my fault. I thought it was literally about a kid who has to go into the sea somewhere to do like a deep diving, dangerous thing. I thought it was gonna be like a voyage, a journey, that kind of thing, but instead this was more of an exploration of how this young boy deals with the onset of mental illness, and I think it's schizophrenia if I'm remembering correctly, and how he deals with that. What we get is a story that is a bunch of metaphors in a trench coat, I think, and he's on this ship that they're headed towards Challenger Deep, which I think is like the deepest point in the ocean if I'm remembering correctly, and the antics that he gets into with these characters in his mind, and it's just like a big allegory about mental health. So in that way I thought it was good, and we need more books like that, but I just didn't really feel anything about it. I was kind of bored and a little annoyed. I have this really weird specific thing and it's only come up in 2 books, so it's really like, it's such a non-issue. But I hate when audiobooks have parrots in the story because I don't like listening to the voice actor doing a parrot impression, and I know that that's like so stupid and it's probably not happening in a lot of books, but when I do hear it, it just irritates me to no end. And I think the voice actor who worked on this book was the same one who did Stolen Tongues, which is the only other book I've ever read that had a parrot in the story. And so I was like, oh, I recognize you. You're the parrot guy. I marked this book as wanting to read it in 2022. I'm not really sure what 2022 me was thinking in adding this to my to be read pile, but you know what? I crossed it off the list and it just wasn't for me. Now we're getting to a very important book in my life. The 4th book I read in July and finished on July 17th, The Angel's Game by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This may very well be my new favorite book of all time. I don't have adequate words to explain how special this book is to me, but I can say that right before I read this, I found out that Carlos Ruiz Zafón died in 2020, and I didn't know that, and I cried because The Shadow of the Wind is one of my favorite books of all time too, which if you don't know, this is book 2, so Shadow of the Wind is book 1 in the series of the Cemetery of Forgotten Books. This one is rarely ever talked about. Everybody seems to know about the first one, but The Angel's Game, I think it's also the lowest rated on Goodreads. The average rating is 4 stars, which is still like incredible, but compared to the other books in this series, this is the lowest rated. And I do not see why. This was stunning. There is a quality about his writing that I can't put into words, and I have often found that when you can't put something into words, it's just that much more special and right for you. I don't know if that makes any sense, but his writing is just so colorful, and it's gothic and romantic, suspenseful, it's disturbing, it's everything I want in a book. There's even a part in the book where it's hinted at that the main character is like a vampire or something. And I just took that and ran with it. That is absolutely probably not part of the story, but I heard that and I was like, He's a vampire, which just made it even more special to me because if you've been on my channel for a while, you know I love vampires. If you've read Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, this book pulls heavily from Great Expectations. I think it's sort of like a retelling. It's been a while since I've read it, so I don't know for sure, but it's a very similar type of story to that. And there's just something so incredibly magical about this book. I cherish it. I mean, the fact that like I finished it and I immediately started rereading it, that is a testament to how much I loved it. And because I never do that. I rated this 5 stars. I would have rated it 6 stars. This is a 6-star book. Read it. You will not be disappointed. Read the whole series. Which brings me to the 5th book I read in July. I finished it on July 19th, and that is The Prisoner of Heaven by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is book number 3 in the Cemetery of Forgotten Books. And I just don't know how he does it. I really don't. I won't drone on and on about this one because I basically just have the same things to say about this one that I did about the Angels game. But this one is significantly shorter than the other books, which was kind of nice because both the first 2 books are, I think the first one's 400 something pages and the Angels game is 500 something pages. This one I think is 2 something. It was a really nice change of pace, but the way that he weaves these timelines together is incredible because the first book's in the 1940s, the second one's in the early 1900s, this one I think is in the 1950s, and they somehow all convalesce, is that the right word? They all converge, they all come together in the most beautiful way. He's just a masterful writer and I'm so sad that he's not with us anymore, but I'm so glad he lives on in these books. I guess if I had to tell you a little bit about what this is about, I mean, it's kind of hard to, but there's a character throughout the books, his name is Fermin Romero de Torres, and it's his story of what happened to him when he was in prison and how that connects to other characters in the series. I don't know how to talk about books in the series, I'm so sorry, but just read it, read it, read it. I'm also really sad about this edition of it because I love the cover art so much, but some idiot put stickers on it, and so when I took them off, that happened. And I'm just like, don't put stickers on a Lamborghini. The 6th book I read in July, which I finished on July 24th, I hope I'm not getting these dates mixed up, but I'm pretty sure that's when I read it, was Normal Rules Don't Apply by Kate Atkinson. This was one I saw at my library and I got it on my Kindle. And I just picked it up on a whim because I thought the concept sounded interesting. It's basically about a bunch of random stories about this event that happens where it's like the sun goes out and there's darkness everywhere, and if you were outside during the event, then you died. And I think all of the stories weave together that plot point in some way. I honestly don't remember. This book doesn't stand out to me in my memory a lot. I loved Kate Atkinson's writing style. She's a new author for me. I hadn't heard of her before, and I would absolutely pick up more of her work in the future. I rated it 3 stars. The average rating on Goodreads is 3.71. Also, I don't think I said my rating for The Prisoner of Heaven. 5 stars, 6 stars. 7 stars, obviously. The 7th book I read in the month of August was All Roads Lead Here, and I read this on my Kindle. I finished it August 14th. The average rating is 4.26. It's characterized as a slow burn romance. I mean, the book, if I'm remembering correctly, is like nearly 600 pages. It's about this woman who goes through a bad breakup and she goes back to her hometown in Colorado under the pretense of being able to rent a room above this garage in this town because there are no other rooms available. And it turns out that the owner of the apartment, his name's Rhodes, I don't remember his first name, owns the house. He didn't know that his son had set up the rental because his son wanted the money to pay for a guitar or something. He walks in on her in the apartment. He's like, "Who are you?" Like, you know, he's like super protective and surly and stoic, and his son has to convince him to let her stay, and she convinces him, and she stays, obviously, because there wouldn't be a story without it. And then it's basically about how, you know, they fall in love and her backstory of why she was running away from the life she had because she was with like this famous musician or something, and she has like a lot of money. Yeah, I did not enjoy this book. By page 350, nothing had happened between the two main characters. Not even like a hug. It was painfully slow. There is slow burn and then there is snail burn. You know, like it's just not, it was 600 pages. Really? And I just sort of felt like the book was kind of depressing because I just imagined her choices and like I wouldn't make those choices. It just made me feel kind of like, man, that's not a life I would want. I didn't really like Rhodes very much. I thought he got better as the book went on, but he grounds his kid after he finds out what he did to let I forget her name already, the main girl stay at the house. He grounds him for 6 months. And I'm like, 6 months? The main character kept talking about peeing all the time. The ending wasn't satisfying to me. The next part of this video is going to be somewhat of a spoiler if you care about knowing about the spicy scenes in a romance book. So this is your warning. This is a 600-page book, right? There is one spicy scene. One. After all that buildup, after all that tension, there is one spicy scene. I wanted to throw the proverbial book across the room. I was like, I spent all this time for that? I'm twirling my headband because I'm that agitated. I rated this 2 stars. Again, I'm in the minority with this one. Most people seem to really love it, so if it sounds interesting, I would check it out. The 8th book I read in August was the Heartless Hunter series, book 1, which is called The Crimson Moth, and I read that on my Kindle as well. I finished it August 22nd. This book is basically about a witch who is sort of like a vigilante. She's trying to save other witches because in this kingdom, witchcraft, being a witch, and I think in this world it's only women who can be witches, is like high treason. You get killed. I thought that the romance was done really well. I will say though, this is the first book I've read where I preferred the other man to the main man that the character ends up with. So there's Gideon and Alex. Gideon is the main love interest. He's like broody and he's got a dark past, and you know, of course. And then Alex is his brother, and he's basically like a golden retriever, and he's super sweet and protective and supportive of our main character, whose name is Rune. Sorry, I'm getting this book and the last book I just read mixed up for reasons I'll get into later. She's trying to save a bunch of witches. She's known as the Crimson Moth. Gideon is part of this elite group of witch hunters, which the Red Guard, I think is their name. I've completely forgotten at this point. But they hunt the witches. So it really is truly enemies to lovers, because, you know, so many times when enemies to lovers is attempted, it's just not enemies to lovers. You know what I mean? I devoured this book. I thought it was so well written. This book was really surprising to me too, because the first, I don't know, I would say 50 pages or so are kind of predictable, or like, it kind of read like a typical fantasy young adult story where I thought I knew how the story would go based on what was being set up, but boy was I wrong, because after those first 50 pages, I had no idea where the story was going. I did not predict anything correctly, which is mwah, beautiful. I'm looking forward to the second book, which comes out, I think, in February. I rated this 4 stars. And the last book I read in August, which I finished late last night, so today, August 31st, is Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. This is how you write a sequel. This was way better than the first one. I loved Elm and Ione. They are like the two love interests that are in this book. In the first book, it's between Elspeth and Raven, but in this book it's Ione and Elm, which Elm is Raven's cousin and Ione, I think, is Elspeth's 1000. But these books are basically about a kingdom named Blunder, where there is this mist that has descended over the land because of this magical pact that no one knows how it came about really, and the mist can infect people, and if it infects you and you survive, then you get magical powers. And of course, the king doesn't like that, so they have this group of elite warriors called the Destriers, and they are tasked with killing the people who have been infected because, again, magic bad. And of course, Elspeth in the first book falls in love with the captain of the Destriers. Again, this one and Heartless Hunter are quite similar, so if you like one, you'll probably love the other. Basically, in the first book, this monster gets stuck inside the main character's head, and we learn in the first book why that is, and there are these things called Providence cards. I think there's 12 of them, and they have magic that the people of Blunder can use, and it's related to this mist in the kingdom. And then something crazy happens at the end of the first book relating to Elspeth and the monster in the second book. They're trying to fix that, and that involves trying to unite the deck to get rid of the mist in the world so that the world can like return to normal, kind of. I rated this 5 stars. I absolutely recommend it. So there you have it. Those are the 9 books that I read in July and August. I hope the audio sounds better in this video. I did put on a better microphone for this one, so hopefully the audio's all good now. Let me know down below. Thank you to Michelle for being my special guest to talk about Haunting Adeline. I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I am so close to 1,000 subscribers on this channel. That's a goal of mine for 2024. I hope you're having a fantastic day or night wherever you are. Let me know down below if there are any video ideas or things you would like to hear from me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.